This is Savio. I've been seeking answers to some of life's most perplexing questions my entire life. In 2014, I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer, and ever since, I realized my calling existed outside of what I knew to be familiar. This podcast is your home for survivors like myself and those who are searching to find meaning to their why. In Season 2, the show includes a mix of coaching sessions followed immediately by interviews with those from all walks of life who have been successful in the business, marketing, coaching, and financial worlds. The intent is to show the human experience in its rawest form so that others may glean insight. Nothing is rehearsed or has been edited. As a board-certified wellness coach, my job is to ask the deep questions of those trying to make sense of their place in this fractured world. I believe life speaks to us in different ways. Many of us listen but don't know how or where to begin. As someone who has crossed the bridge between life and death, I say simply, begin where you are now and get busy living. If you liked today's episode, I would appreciate it if you could share it and subscribe. Be sure to tag me at The Human Resolve so I can reciprocate in kind. So without further ado, welcome to the Human Resolve podcast. In Season 2, Episode 13, entitled The One with Cutting Off Friends, a writer by trade, Jared Woods can craft a story that can make your heart swoon. But when he is miles apart in accepting varied ideologies, he questions whether getting on the same page is even possible. Hi, Jared. It's good to see you.
Hey, Savio. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Very well, sir. Very happy to be here.
Excellent. So what would you like coaching on today?
Savio, it's a bit of an unusual one, I think. It starts with falling out with two specific friends I've had who are they're not even aware of each other. So it's two very similar stories with two different individuals. And how it came about was basically when COVID kicked off, there was obviously a lot of panic and stress among everybody. And certain I think we all knew some people that took it to kind of a different level, where they specifically were very concerned about things like the conspiracy theory side of things. They believed that COVID was a myth. They believed that 5G was involved. They believed that Bill Gates, and it keeps going up, and both of them are quite deep into it to the point of the lizard theory, and I don't know if you know about that kind of stuff. So, I mean, they're both intelligent guys, and because they're really good friends of mine, I actually gave them the benefit of the doubt and did a lot of research myself and found that while there was some interesting stuff, I struggled to find any solid evidence to what they were saying. There's a lot of select research going on. A lot of the fundamental, the origins of these theories often came from very loose places. So I presented this information to them thinking, I could help them out. I can help them be a little less panicked. Instead, what ended up happening is just a further wedge between us. They told me I was fighting against them. They told me that I didn't see the truth like they saw the truth. And so that damaged our friendship quite drastically. But what I really would like to talk to you about more than that is how now, because I did all this research, I read a big book by David Icke, and I actually wrote quite a few articles about certain microchipping and stuff like that, just presenting my research. And because I did that, and because I went so deep into it, every time I come across a COVID anything, which is everywhere, my mind ends up going to this place where I'm having imaginary arguments with these friends now, and I'm going like, no, you see, this, I'll see them post things on Facebook, and I'll be like, and I'm so frustrated, and I just constantly on this alert to argue with them, and I just feel like it would be great for me just to talk about that with someone, because it has actually become quite a frustrating part of my day. I don't know, should I completely cut them off, or should I? It's just this kind of negativity that I feel is following me around that I'd like to just have a discussion if that's all right.
Sure. So what I'm hearing is that you have two good friends who just went a different path when it comes to sort of COVID and everything else going on in our world, and you sort of wrestling with sort of those feelings involved and all that, and it sort of encompasses your day on stuff. It triggers your day when you see certain things in and around your life. Yeah.
Yes,
so what
correct.
would be a perfect outcome for today's session?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a good question. I think the perfect outcome would be for me to have a thought to replace those thoughts, I guess. So every time I come to this frustration and I get this feeling that like I want to say something to them or present new evidence or argue against something they presented, rather be able to just go, no, I don't need to pursue that thought because it kind of ends up I'm getting to a place like that, but it's always far down the line. I find myself suddenly I'm angry and I'm like, oh, I've gotten myself all worked up, and it's just these kind of it's an imaginary argument I'm having with them sometimes. I just because I just want to unleash all this fury, which is just not right or healthy in any manner. Yeah. So
Right.
yeah, perfect outcome. Sorry to be rambling on there. It was just to kind of maybe just find some peace and acceptance. I guess that would be a good start.
Okay. So the perfect outcome would be finding some peace and acceptance. Is that correct?
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I say to you this angst and frustration, where do you feel that in your body?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the typical places. I feel it in my breath a lot. I feel I get very, but it is a very kind of mental thing. My thoughts race quite far, but yeah, I would say it's just very chest like if we're going to pinpoint a exact location.
It's very chest-like. Would you like to do a little experiment with me?
Absolutely.
Okay. I just want you to get comfortable in your seat. If you feel inclined to go inward, you can close your eyes. Just want you to take 3 deep breaths in and 3 deep breaths out. I just want you to think about when those triggers happen, what's going on in your body?
Very, very tense. Very, very tense. I feel it in my jaw. I feel it in my fists. It's just a very anxious shoulders. That kind of very just upward feeling, withdrawing into like it's a difficult thing to describe, but just tense. Tense is a good word.
Have you ever felt this way before?
Yeah. It's kind of a defensive feeling where it's like when I'm ready to strike in a way. When you're having a heavy debate that can turn into an argument, gets quite heated. But this is happening to me when I'm not even in the argument. So this is, it's a bit of that's the frustration, I guess.
Do you let this frustration out?
No, I don't. Definitely not. Probably should. That's a good point.
Have you ever let it out?
Yeah, I think there was a time in my life, but I try my best not to. I feel like maybe this is incorrect of me, but I feel like it's as I was saying in the beginning of this whole COVID and all that, I was arguing with these people, and I found that what would happen was it would just cause worse feelings. So I felt like I would just let them do their thing, and I'm dealing with this kind of personally, rather than just maybe there's another avenue to let it out, to be honest. But I think just to confront them, it has not worked. And I'm talking. I mean, I confronted them many months ago. This has been a long time, as you would assume. But yeah, in the last maybe 6 months or so, I have kept it to myself. Yeah.
What would you have liked to have happened?
I would just wish everyone would and I mean everyone would just get on the same page. I know that's impossible because I'm looking for people to get on my page, which is what everyone's trying to do. But just kind of I see a lot of people that are really hurt and a lot of pain. We all are. COVID's been very, very difficult for everyone, I think. But I think some people have really let theories that are semi-unfounded to kind of dictate their lives. And I just wish they would I wish I could say something that would just provide them with some relief and maybe a little bit of rational thought from my perspective. But yeah, it would just be great if we could all just come to an agreement, even if the agreement was, let's just let everyone live their lives how they want to live it, rather than shouting out what we think everyone should be doing in a way.
So what are some of the tenets of being on your page?
I think it would be open to everything. As I say, I don't necessarily think they're I would never say that I'm the authority on any of these theories. They could very well be true. I don't actually know that. But it's just that I would love for people to be open to say, maybe this is the one way, but these are the other options of what could be possible. And just have a little more, from my perspective, have a little more, require a little more hard evidence before drawing huge conclusions that have repercussions, such as not wearing masks on the train, or such as not, refusing to get the vaccination. I understand, that people have different opinions on that, but I think we need to look at all perspectives, without just shutting it down immediately, on either or side of the fence. I think it can go the other way. I think a lot of people just blindly do whatever they're told to do. I don't think I think that's just as bad. But I think at least in those cases, there are people kind of trying to help society, whereas these other ones are kind of trying to bring society onto it's a very negative space. Am I making sense? I'm kind of just talking.
What's the perfect worldview that your friends would want you to have?
Very good question. They would want me to see that they would want me to not wear a mask ever. They would want me to obviously refuse the vaccination. They would, which I mean, there's arguments for the vaccination thing. Sure, I understand that. They would want me to believe that Bill Gates is the Antichrist. They would want me to believe that the Queen is a lizard who's eating children. They would want me to believe very strange 5G, of course, is going to kill us all. And COVID doesn't exist, or it's the flu. That would be some of their criteria, I think, that would get me on their page again.
So how do you think you can sort of come to an understanding given what they want and what you want?
Yeah, I mean, I have one of them in particular, a very good friend. We've tried to talk it out, and it's always gotten out of control. But one thing we kind of agreed on was just to stop talking to each other about it, which I thought which is definitely a good start. But it doesn't kind of help that I know what he's thinking, and I know that it still plays on my mind a lot. But yeah, I guess it would just be, I mean, maybe it's even just from my side to just be like, I just need to maybe accept that that's the way some people are, and they need to accept me as well. And I think from both perspectives, I think there needs to be people need to stop, myself included, need to stop kind of pushing their agenda on other people. Everyone's trying to get everyone on their side, and I think I do that, and they do that as well. And I think that would probably be good if we both just kind of, if everyone just stopped doing that, would be a great start.
Are your friends capable of doing that?
I think they are eventually, but I think right now things are just so heated. It's just so crazy. It's everything's just been so nuts for the last year, and especially with the vaccination is now. I mean, I'm in the UK, and it's really coming out now, and it's the results have been very positive, but of course for them it's the end of the world. So it's I think it would be a bit difficult now to get onto a similar page.
So Jared,
but
if I could create a miracle for you, somehow I had the ability to do that, what would that look like?
It's an excellent question, Xavier. I think part of me would just love it if we could just, you know what? Yeah, no, I know the answer to that. It would be good to just kind of know exactly what's going on and have the ultimate proof of that, so we could all so everyone could be on the same page, and everyone could say this is what's actually happening. Because I'm never going to say that I know what's happening, and I think there's always more to every story. But I truly believe from my research that it's definitely not some sinister thing. So if there was just a way to kind of have hard evidence, if you could make that miracle for me, that would be great. If you could miraculously provide some hard evidence which proved something or other, so I could go, okay. But beyond that, it would just be nice if my friends and I could just coexist on this matter. Like we coexist on so many other different matters that we have different opinions on. This one is just proven too intense.
Do you feel that if there was hard evidence given, that your friends would change their minds?
Excellent question. I would say probably not. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think so.
So how do you make sense of that?
Well, the whole thing is based on rejecting evidence. That's a lot of what they believe. You present facts and they say the facts have been distorted. So it's, it doesn't really matter what you present. There is kind of always this impenetrable force field of that. Of course, they would say that because that's those people who are saying that the scientists are on the side of the people who are manipulating the masses, and maybe they are. But I just I can't spend my life worrying about that, man.
Can't spend your life worrying about that.
No, and yet here I am.
Yeah. Jared, it just kind of occurred to me. What are some qualities you like about your friends?
This is a very good question. Well, I'll pick one specifically. He's a very interesting guy. He's an incredible artist. He's the best I've ever known. Super creative and just makes beautiful work. Very out there, original stuff. And he is a compassionate guy, and I know where he comes from is from the right place. Like he does want. He just believes this thing so strongly, and he thinks it's the absolute truth, and so he wants all his friends to come into this place that he believes that he's discovered, and so his heart is actually in the right place. So he's not nothing malicious about how he is as a person, but there's just so he has ample qualities. I've been friends with him since I was for maybe 26 years. I've known this guy, something crazy like that. So it's a long friendship to have been destroyed. Well, to have been severely damaged. So I mean, his qualities are endless, and he's also extremely weird and eccentric, which obviously connects to the issues. But it's a beautiful thing in its own way. When you're on different topics, it's hilarious. He's very funny.
Have you ever expressed these feelings of appreciation that you have for your friend?
I have not since this though. I think things just got very, very tense, and there was never space for it. But yeah, no. Back in the day, I've always been very complimentary. I've written articles about him and stuff. I've always been a big fan of his work, and he's been equally. I don't know what the word is, but he's just very generous with how he treats me and everything. It's. I guess that's why this is such a big deal. I have other friends who believe similar things, but it's not a big loss in my life, or it's not people I take very seriously in what they say. It amuses me sometimes, but when it's someone that's really close to you, and you can see the pain in what they're saying and how it's really affecting every single aspect of their life, that's when it starts to become a much bigger deal, I think. So yeah, but as I was trying to say, very close, and I have spent many times complimenting him in various ways. Yeah. I hope I get to do that again.
Well, what if you did? What if you expressed what you expressed to me right now to him? Yeah,
you say that, and I get a good feeling thinking about it. So maybe that is something. But it's hard, man. It's hard because I know what's gonna happen. The conversation would be all right for a certain period of time, and then at some point, especially because the problem is with something like COVID is. It dominates the news. It dominates every conversation. So you ultimately will end up in that topic several times a day. And when you end up in that topic with someone like him, it just flies off into the ether of crazy talk.
Do you think it would change things with him if you express this?
I think he would definitely appreciate it. I think I don't know. I think honestly, I feel like we just need things to calm down a little first. The world itself is crazy, so I think we just need everything to breathe again properly, and we need people to go outside, and then we could definitely heal it. But lots of things have been said already, as I've kind of mentioned. Is like we've had pretty heated debates that have ended in quite bad notes. So, but maybe, I mean, I'm definitely not saying that what you're suggesting is a bad idea. It's probably quite nice to do that, but I do worry that it would just kind of go in a circle and then end up in exactly where I am. I don't know.
What do you think your friend wants?
He wants, you mean like in general or from me?
From you.
I think, yeah, it's a question I'd have to ask him. I think there is, if he really got what he wanted, he would want me to agree with him and be on that side of the fence. But I think, yeah, I think deep down he wants what I want, and he just wants to get along, and just, I think it's what we all want. We all want life to just resemble normality again, you know? So I think friendships included, and I know a lot of people have had falling outs during these very tense lockdown periods. We all just want to go back to just a slightly more normal relationship with ourselves, relationships with other people, relationships with the planet, our governments, everything. It's just we all want to think clearly for a second.
So what if he finds out that you took the vaccine? What happens then?
Yeah, he doesn't want me to do that, obviously, but I'm going to. I've done my research. I don't think it's. I think it's something that's. I trust the science, for better or worse. I think things could happen, and I just feel like the potential advantages outweigh the disadvantages if I have to weigh it all up. So he's gonna hate that. Yeah, he's gonna really, really hate that. But then I hope as it's been shown, as it seems to be showing, is that I'll get it, and then everything will calm down, and then life will go back to normal, and then it's gonna get harder and harder for him to fight that, or something really bad's gonna happen, and then he's gonna say, "Ha ha, I told you so," and then and then fair enough.
So living the many years that you've lived, what are some qualities you appreciate in a friend?
That's a good question as well. I appreciate the typical stuff. I think honesty is incredibly important. I like originality and humor. So people who are funny, people who say things that are not stuff I've heard before. People who, but you know what it really is? It's always about a chemistry. You know, it's about how the conversation flows between you. It's about the kind of person they bring out of yourself. So I just look for someone who I can be myself around, and the details are less important. Yeah.
Given the reality we live in, can you be yourself around this friend?
Yeah, I feel like that's the thing. I think that's almost the problem. We're both not polite with each other. You know, there's no like, oh, let's walk on eggshells. We're at each other's spaces. We've known each other for so long that we are totally ourselves, unapologetically so, which is a beautiful thing, you know, in some ways. But this is where the problem starts when you're really close with someone, is that you end up saying anything that's on your mind. There's no filter. You don't hold back. So I think that's been part of the problem, is we've both just said everything very intensely, and it's difficult to sway one another because we know each other so well, and we just it's tricky, very tricky. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I feel like I could be myself around him still.
Have you ever encountered, maybe not the same intensity, but a similar situation with your friend before? With
this friend? Mm-hmm. That's a good question. You know, I don't think so. We've no, not that I think. I think we've nothing comes to mind. He's probably annoyed me from time to time. He can be a very annoying person, but no, I don't believe so.
So, Jared, what could be some action steps to bring you closer somehow?
Yeah, these are the difficulties here, Savio, is that I feel like we've kind of had so many conversations already And I'd love to say, oh, if we could try to see things each other's way, or maybe I could reach out and send him a message. But it kind of have crossed all those bridges already, and I think I could probably speak for both of us that it wasn't my fault or his fault. We're just having this it's just a very intense time in the world. So certain topics are just difficult to ignore. So I feel like, honestly, I feel like for me, the best thing to do is to just maybe stay away for a little bit, to be honest, and let this thing settle a little more and try to kind of, it's just still too heated, you know what I mean? That's my perspective.
So let things settle and
Yeah.
have some distance.
Yeah, that feels like the only option.
So I asked you earlier what your friend sort of wants. Now I'm going to ask you, what is it that you need right now?
It's difficult. I mean, it's quite a broad question. That, I mean, I need from him specifically, or just from just
Him specifically, the world
just life.
Specifically, your life specifically.
Well, that's the thing is I'm actually in a very strangely, despite everything, in a very good place at the moment. I've my job's kept going. I was one of the fortunate ones. I feel that my life has always been quite a fantastic thing, and I'm very grateful for it. And that's why when I was first coming onto the show, I was trying to think of what was really bothering me, and this is the thing. It's just this one very unique situation. So I guess what I need is not really that much. I need peace of mind. That's what I need. I need to kind of stop thinking about conspiracy theories. I would love to just stop thinking about them, and I've tried. I've kind of come to peace. I need peace in myself. That's what it is. I need to just be able to go, I'm letting that go. I'm just letting that go. I'm letting that be what it is. But instead, it's just, for some reason, it's like this constant. It's constantly triggered into this world of just frustration. So yeah.
And how can you hold yourself accountable to having more peace and less frustration?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could. If I knew the answer to that, that would be great. I guess it would be. I mean, because it is my problem. You know what I mean? It is someone else's duty or responsibility. So I do get that it is down to me. Maybe I could just read a bunch of really happy stories or something. Just I don't know. Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I think big part of what we all are just waiting for is for life to resume again, and it's just going to be so much easier. But I mean, we're in the UK right now. We're still locked down very, very strictly, and we have been this entire year. And so I think, just to get any kind of mental stability is going to take. It's going to take just for life to restart again. It's just been tough for everyone. So it's just difficult to kind of come up with answers for these things. Well, it's like I'm still going to be in these four walls. You know what I mean?
May I offer you a resource?
Of course, please,
Sure.
by all means.
Have you looked into breathing exercises or mindfulness of some kind?
I have quite a bit. I struggle with it, to be honest. I do, but I have looked into that, and it's definitely something I have thought about and looking into much more. So if you have any suggestions on that front, that would be great.
There's also journaling. Have you ever looked into that?
Yeah, I should do more of that. I am a writer by trade, and I do keep journals, but they're not emotionally based. They're more work based and project based and ideas based, creativity. But you mean more of that's what journaling is, right? It's a kind of an emotional record, right? Yeah. So that's probably a good idea. I'm liking this. Thank you very much.
What do you think the benefits of doing all this would be?
Getting out of my head. and getting the stuff out of my head. So that would probably be actually very, very beneficial. Yeah.
And do you have the tools or resources to do it?
To do what exactly? To do journaling would be easy, but I guess time could be something I need more of. We all need more time.
So how would you handle that obstacle of time?
Luckily, I'm pretty good when it comes to time management. I mean, my day is completely full, but intentionally. So from what I have been reading, it seems like it's a good idea to do these types of things before bed. So, I mean, I could always make just some time to do that at that point. There's always a way. There's always a way. I would do that. Yeah, it's just actually deciding to do it. I guess that's the first thing.
So, Jared, we talked a lot about sort of your friend and sort of this feeling of angst, and now we talked about maybe some options for breathing exercises or journaling. How does this all feel in your body with that tightness and that upper, feeling of angst that you have?
It definitely helps to talk about it, I must say. Yeah, I think there was also a certain degree of nervousness when we started this conversation, as per usual when it comes to interviews. But I feel much better now. Honestly, I feel like I haven't actually spoken to anyone about any of this, so it's I think this was very beneficial in that sense. So I definitely feel I feel like it's just good to get that out. Really, yeah.
You mentioned you're a writer by trade, so how would you caption this feeling?
Additional space to breathe. It feels like there's more room inside of me to bring the oxygen in.
To breathe the oxygen in.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, Jared, we're pretty much at time. I'm going to transition into the interview period. Is this a good place to end our coaching session?
It is, but I would just like to thank you so much for having this conversation with me. It's more appreciated than you know, and it's just to be able to now go off and have kind of a fresh bunch of questions to analyze this problem is actually more beneficial than I could explain. So thank you so very much, Savio. I appreciate this.
Sure, absolutely. So tell my listeners more about you and what you do.
Great. Well, as we said, I'm a writer by trade. I actually write scripts for a cartoon show called Pencil Nation. But in my spare time, writing's my life. I love writing. It's always been that way. But in the last couple of years, I've started to dedicate myself to writing books of different sorts, fiction and whatnot. But the most recent project that I would like to talk about is a self-help book by the name of Heartbreak Sucks: How to Get Over Your Breakup in 30 Days, which is pretty self-explanatory, I think. But it obviously stems from my own experiences. I had quite a vicious heartbreak in 2013. It was my second heartbreak ever, and because it was my second one, I was like, not this time. I can't go through this again. I just read as much material as I could. I interviewed people, and I just did my research and developed a very loose program, which I posted online around 2013-14. Got lots of really positive responses, and I knew then this would be a good book, but obviously after I'd already endured the heartbreak, the last thing I wanted to do was write a full book about it. So I left that. But then I had another breakup at the end of 2017, and it wasn't terrible, but it was enough to go, you know what, I remember I wrote a whole bunch of stuff. Let me revisit that. And I rewrote it and put it all together and developed a program, which basically the idea is just to, on each day for 30 days, give the reader a couple of tasks that are designed to be fun, but also designed to kind of progress them, to avoid detrimental behaviors, and most of all, just to kill the time, really. And so that was the idea, and it took me a long time to write it, and just writing, getting it all together and promoting it and all that. But that came out on Valentine's Day, quite aptly, this last Valentine's Day. And yeah, it's available on Amazon and all over. So that's my pride and joy right now.
So, what are your commandments of a healthy breakup?
Well, that's the thing, and that's one of the things I found about writing this book, and especially doing research, is that it's so dependent from person to person. And you think about people, there's 16-year-olds going through their first breakups that is, it feels like it's the end of the world, which is valid. And then you have people that are adults getting divorced or have kids, and it's such a different spectrum of what can and can't be done. But for me, I just kind of thought the best thing to do was to tackle it bit by bit, and it just kind of addresses the questions that people often have. For example, should you cut off the ex or not? And once again, I offer the different scenarios. These are what you should consider, and you need to make it one of the options. Generally, I would suggest that for the 30 days you don't make contact with the ex as best as possible. I think that's fair. It's only 30 days. And just things like people often look at rebounding. How quickly, when's the best time to find another person? And once again, I think it's circumstantial. It's about looking at your own personal situation and saying, am I doing this for the right reasons? And then there's a lot more like fun ones. Like one of my favorite days is just trying to change your style. Get a new haircut, get new clothes. Just like try something different in that way. So when you look in the mirror, it's kind of a different person, and kind of just day by day things like that, just to slowly progress yourself, avoiding things like drinking yourself to sleep and rushing to the nearest person who'll give you affection, and instead constructively using this very unique time and it's an emotion that has such power that you can harness it into becoming a much better person and create art for it, or dedicate time to friendships, or these kind of things. I came to realize that heartbreak was such a powerful place where some of the best songs in the world and best movies are about, and it's about turning that energy into a positive, if at all possible. It's a tall order. I think it's quite difficult, but in theory, it's lovely.
Do you feel the dynamics of relationships have changed, due to the fact that we're all going through a global pandemic?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I've seen it. This is the annoying thing, is that I wrote the book obviously before all of this happened, and so it's to release it now. There's certain aspects that are like, go meet your friends. It's like, but don't actually go meet your friends. You can't do that. Skype, I guess. But yes, unfortunately, I know many people that have broken up during this time. I think just people have been locked in these spaces together, and you kind of lose your mind a bit, and it's tense, regardless of trying to look after someone else and yourself and have this healthy relationship. So yeah, I think this has been an extremely testing period for everyone in a relationship, and I'm just glad that I wasn't in one.
How do you suppose someone would be able to get out of these four walls, as you say, healthy?
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, I just think that you've got to live your life as normal as possible, and you've got to remember that you're not getting the exercise you should unless you go get it. You're not going and walking around like you used to. You're not seeing friends, so you've got to make time to exercise. You've got to look after your diet. You've got to keep in contact with your friends. You've got to still socialize, even if it's via chat. Keep your room tidy. Small things like that will just keep your mind together. And I think it's if you have a job, really put your stuff put your energy into your job. And if you don't have a job, now's a good time to really pursue a hobby that might have once interest you. It's all easier said than done, but it's just about trying to be as normal as possible during this, and then hopefully when it all ends, you have some shred of sanity left.
Are there any reflections in the book that you think could be a resource for individuals going through what they're going through emotionally?
Yes, I mean, as I say, there's quite a hefty section on the advantages of healthy living, and things like exercise and things like certain looking after your diet would definitely apply to these types of times. And I mean, the kind of things that I've covered, but there are certain aspects that don't apply as well as they would. But I think what would be so difficult now is that if you're in lockdown with someone and you can't just up and leave, and to find a place can be very difficult. So these are the kind of things that unfortunately the kind of don't apply as well as they would. So it was just could have been better timing, man. I wish COVID had just waited a little bit, but you roll with the punches. But luckily, I mean, I say luckily, the saddest thing about this book actually is that I don't really want it to do well, because the worse it does, the better people are. You know what I mean? It's the kind of book that I'm selling to people that unfortunately are in horrible positions. But the one advantage of that is that it is quite a timeless topic. And I think it doesn't really, as the years go on, it's going to still remain relevant for quite a long time. It's definitely not of this time. So while a lot of it would be useful to people who are struggling during the lockdown, it will equally make sense afterwards, and whatever the next big disaster is, hopefully it still stands.
So most of us know the negative effects of a breakup. What has surprised you in a positive way?
I can tell you that I mean, I created the system and I followed it, and I got a book out of it. So my last breakup ended up with a book, and that's one of the main things I do say in the book is, like, you can find a way to turn this into your masterpiece. Some people that'll be an artistic thing, but for other people it could be helping other people, which is a great thing. It could be just kind of focusing on their work a little bit more, just to kind of pass the time a bit. So there's ways to use it in that can be creatively stimulating. There's ways to use it that could even be financially beneficial, and so that's kind of what surprised me the most was that it's such a internationally recognized feeling. Everyone knows it. It's not, everyone has experienced that, and it's horrible. It's the worst, and we can all relate to it. And so from that perspective, it's like you can have real good conversations with people that you weren't in a place to have before, and you can produce a different side of your personality that you weren't even necessarily aware of, and that only comes around a few times in a lifetime. And so I feel like that's what kind of surprised me, is that you can exploit it. And as I say, I got a book out of it. So that's it, the proof is in the pudding,
So from your book, what has some readers shared with you in terms of how it's affected their lives?
Yeah, there was one particular guy who there is a section that kind of, as I was speaking about rebounding very carefully, and how to kind of healthy do that, and then kind of like looking at your options. And he said, yeah, during that there was, because this is kind of this section that explains how you can go through your maybe your Facebook friends or your phone list and strike up conversations with someone of your preferred gender, and just to get the kind of flirty feelings flowing again. And he did that, and he fell in love, and he said, oh, your book really helped me. Yeah, that was one of my best success stories, was this guy who came out the other side in love with someone else, and completely over heartbreak. He swears by it. So that's a good one. But there's been a lot of positive feedback, but it is still very new, and I mean, it hasn't even been out for 30 days yet. So I'm hoping I'll get a few more results once on the 14th of this month. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So what's the dream? What's the dream for this book and for your ventures?
Yeah, I mean, the dream for this book really is just to help people. It'd be just not. It's it's not something that I expect is gonna make me millions or anything like that. But if I just get some positive feedback, but for me, man, I just love writing. I love it, and I love traveling. So I'm really looking forward to being able to do that. And literally, all I want to do for the rest of my life is to travel the world and write books. I'm just planning to write hundreds of them, if possible, and just see as many countries as I can. And that's all. I'm a simple man with simple needs, man. That would make me a happy dude. So yeah, just waiting for the borders to open.
Yeah. If you could sort of think deeply, what's one thing that writing gives you that nothing else gives?
That's great. I love that question, and I think strangely we've covered this when we discussed journaling, and it's such a raw expression. You know, when people paint or people sculpt or people make digital art or anything like that, or they act, it's always kind of obscured, like make music. You know, it's hidden behind different meanings and but you can't hide when you write. It's your brain on the paper. Like there's no funny colors, there's no pretty pictures. It's words coming from your mind out. And I think it's just such a great way to get. It's the only way to truly get the raw data from the brain into the outside world. And I think there's a lot of therapeutic benefits to that. And yeah, I just find it very exciting. Yeah, I love it.
That's lovely. It's so interesting you use the word therapeutic because it relates back to the coaching sessions.
Exactly. No, it does. That's why I love. It's a great question.
Excellent. All right. So before we come to a close with this interview, please tell my fans where they can find you on, the internet or on social media.
Great, I'd love to. My Instagram is a good place because I draw a lot of cartoons there as well. So that's Lego Trip, LEGOTRIP. But JaredWoodSaveMyLife.com is the site that has everything in kind of one place where you can check that there's a section for the book there, and there's a section for, I'm in a band, so there's band music there and drawings and all that kind of stuff. Just a big dumping ground of art stuff. So that would be ideal if people would click that.
Excellent, Jared. Well, this was an excellent interview. I really appreciate your time.
Salvia, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciated that you allowed me to vent all my issues your way.
Sure, absolutely. All right, take care.
Thank you.
Hi there. I really hope you enjoyed listening to today's podcast episode of The Human Resolve. If you feel that others may enjoy this episode as well, please share socially at The Human Resolve. They can also visit my website, thehumanresolve.com, where I offer one-on-one coaching sessions, daily prompts to move you in the right direction, sync directly to your smartphone, and a subscription to my weekly newsletter where I probe into the secrets from living smarter to feeding your 3 brains. If you could also help me out and give me a review and rating on this platform, because I do care what you have to say, I would really appreciate it. Now, get out there, my friends, and get busy living.